I am sweaty. Looks like my lens is dirty too. Let me fix that. I am a multifarious fisherman. This is Seven Fish. I'm out walking a trout stream, getting some exercise. We're just post-frontal. Fishing's not great. I've been looking for active chasing biters, and I found them, and they're all brown trout. I'm throwing yellow, my brown trout color. Really small spinner. A little winded. I was ill last week, just kind of getting back out, so trying not to wear myself down. It's beautiful out here though. It's been hot, and it's, as I said, post-frontal, it's much cooler than it has been, but it was raining all morning, so it's definitely humid, and I'm still sweating. But the reason I brought the camera out was not to film me catching a bunch of baby brown trout, but to talk about color. I did a little radio show this week, and when I was on the show, I had somebody call in, was asking questions about color, and I got a whole thing about color, as you can imagine. But it's a good question. I've addressed it on the channel before, but if you missed one of those videos, we're going to talk about it specifically here in this video. And it may not be what you think. There's a lot of adages or conventional wisdom about color. Bright days, bright lures. Dark days, dark lures. That's an old standby. And guys with my hair color that run around talking about that. And anything, whatever system you adhere to is a good place to start, but don't get married to it. I started with purple, which is my normal purple gold for overcast like it has been today, is normally what I have success with. And I did. I caught brownie right off the bat. I actually caught two, but I didn't get either of them on camera. The one got off right at my feet, and the other one I got, and then was jacking around trying to dig my camera out, and it got off while I was doing that. So Ofer on the filming. Good job, YouTuber. There was a device back in the day called a color selector, where you put a probe in the water at the depth you wanted to fish, and it measured the available light, told you what color was the best for that body of water at that depth. And I had one of those. I can't remember if it was the 70s or the 80s when Fire Tiger came out. Fire Tiger was not a color anybody'd ever seen or heard of, and all of a sudden you had to have every lure in Fire Tiger. It was bright, it was visible for active fish. It's a good color. I still use it, I still catch fish. But imagine that there was a time when Fire Tiger was the new color, and nobody'd ever heard of it before. And everybody got excited and started buying Fire Tiger. That happened. Hi. I'm back down the bottom of the stream right at the top of the lake, and I just thought I'd pull up and Babe Ruth this thing. Be like, I'm gonna catch a trout right here. But how do I know I'm gonna catch a trout right here? It's partly conditions. It's partly the spot. And it's partly, if I don't, I won't use this clip, so I'm kind of half teasing. But I do think I'm going to catch one here. I'm going to set a camera up. Had to change the battery out. It died while I was talking to you. Probably backlit, that's alright. I'm going to throw well, it wasn't first cast. Didn't quite put it where I wanted it, but Might need to move up. I can't quite get where I want to be. There's a beautiful black and yellow bird. Goldfinch. Drinking out of the stream about 20 feet away from me. Well, my spot didn't pay off. It's a poopy. Well, my spot did pay off, and he come off. Okay, there's a rainbow. Chill out. He's not going to calm down, so I'm just going to put him back. First rainbow of the day. That is a creek chub. They got a big mouth for the little fish. Native species creek chub. Another rainbow. Had to tease that one a little bit. This one's also beat up. These warmer summer temps aren't great for these fish, but it's cool today. But rainbow, decent size. And get him wet. School of largemouth. Little guys. There's a bunch of little baby largemouth in here. Not sure what that's all about. Tell me that water's not as cold as the trout want it to be. Good morning. I am out in the kayak on a rainy morning. I'm with the left-handed hunter. He's filming too, but I don't know what we're going to get. We haven't had so much as a sniff so far. It's one of those mornings when you feel like things are stacked against you. I started filming a video the other day because I wanted to make a video talking about color and color selection and how that works. My difficulty that day was the opposite of my difficulty this day. I had the stream more or less to myself, which is very cool. I ended up catching 26 trout to the point where I didn't really get much filming done because I was just catching fish. And I'll show you what those fish look like. Some of them were pretty, you know, trout are cool looking. No, you know, none of them are giants, but decent fish and a lot of fun, to be honest. I actually think differently about color. I have talked in other videos about how I approach the process of fishing, how I prefer to fish lures that move somewhat rapidly, where I can cover water and look for an active bite or to jump on a bait. My last resort are the slow, methodical presentations. I know there's days when they work, and I do catch fish like that, but usually I don't end up having to, because there's almost always some fish that will be active and wanting to eat, and if you get a bait in front of enough of them, you end up having a good day. You said this was going to be a video about color, and you're talking about how you fish fast and then slow. Well, that is a video about color, because I'm going to make color selections based on the speed that I'm running a bait. I don't feel like it's at all necessary. If you're running a bait relatively quickly, a naturally painted bait has no advantage because the fish don't have time to see it, to see all the beautiful paint jobs. If you're, you know, running a buzz bait that has to be run quickly at or near the surface, a natural colored one doesn't make any sense, to be honest. The difference between a shad colored buzz bait and a white buzz bait at the speed you're running it to the fish, there is no difference. It makes you feel good. Like, oh, this lake's full of shad. They're definitely going to hit this shad colored bait. Yeah, they probably will, but they're hitting the action, not the color.
that lure is moving so quick that they don't have time to see, you know, that cool eyeball on the side of your buzzbait or on the side of your crankbait or your spinnerbait. That bait's moving too fast for them to even see that eye spot. Makes you feel good though. That's my opinion. Now, having said that, I do like to fish bright colors on fast baits because if they see it, they're active, they're going to move to hit a bait. And if they can see it from further away, they're going to move further to hit it. When I'm running a bait that I got to move slowly, there are times that I'll run a bright bait, but I'm much less likely to run a bright bait. Because if I have to slow down, it means the fish are negative, they're not traveling far to hit a bait. I'm not worried about them seeing it from a mile away. What I'm mainly worried about is trying to get in front of a fish and tease them into bite. And when they're not particularly active, not particularly inclined to hit a bait, you need to convince them that what they're seeing is actual food. And that's where looking like what they're trying to eat is more important. So I would break color down into a concept of visible and natural. In clear-ish water, a bright color is real easy to see. They collect a lot of light, they reflect a lot of light, and then they're very visible. Shiny metal blades reflect a lot of light and can give you good visibility. Big flat sides with reflective surfaces can give you good visibility. But if the water's dirty and they don't have light to reflect, you know, don't have enough light to reflect off of that mirror surface, then it becomes not very visible at all. So a metallic reflective surface is a high visibility bait in clear, clean water. In dirty water, honestly, it's kind of not very visible at all. Bright painted baits tend to give you a higher level of visibility. They still need light to reflect, but bright painted baits can reflect light in cloudy water, dingy water. A bright bait can kind of light up the water around it, so it will have kind of a halo effect around it. A bright yellow bait has kind of a yellow aura around it when the water's a little dingy. It lights up the particles in the water around itself. In dirty enough water, sometimes a black bait is easier for a fish to see. We have a lot of dirty water around here, and a black blue is a really good color. Now, you can't run the black baits crazy fast to give you that visibility, but you know, a lot of the plastics, a lot of soft plastics that guys throw around here are going to be black, blue, going to be in that kind of color palette. Very popular in this part of the world. For good reason, they catch fish. The other thing that I consider with color is that whole dark versus light. But it's in the parameters of natural or high visibility. So there are times, like when I'm fly fishing and I'm running a streamer fly, which is fast for a fly rod. It's not a fast presentation because it's a fly presentation, but it's fast for a fly rod. I will bounce colors, especially like with a woolly bugger, in between a light color and a dark color, so that I give them different options. And sometimes the white will work for a period of time and maybe fall off and not catch as many fish. And oddly, if I switch to a black, you know, I'll start popping fish again. And then maybe the black will slow down, and then white will work again. So it can be conditional, you know, not a specific condition necessarily, but it can be conditional where certain colors are good and then they're less good and then they're good again. An example of a light natural colored bait would be your shads, your sexy shads, blah blah blah. An example of a darker natural colored bait, they're bluegill colors. A lot of my lures that look like bluegill or emulate a bluegill are pretty dark. So you can still play the light versus dark game on naturally colored baits. In a lake that has a bluegill, where most of the food in the lake is a bluegill, There are certain cues or keys that are bluegill-ish, and a lot of lakes I fish are bluegill lakes. So I may take a color from the natural color. This is not a natural looking bait, but the purple in it is reminiscent of the purple that reflects off of bluegills, and it's a darker visible color. I'm not going with a natural color because the bait moves quickly and there's no sense in having, you know, a bluegill ear flap and a bluegill bright orange belly or a, you know, super realistic bluegill paint job, because they're not going to see it at the speed I'm retrieving this anyway. That purple is reminiscent of the shine that comes off of even crappie. I've got a thumbnail that really demonstrates the purple glow of a crappie in a certain sunlight. And I think that's a good trigger, that reminding them or having a color that is reminiscent of food, even for just a glimpse, because that's all they're going to get of this bait. It's moving quickly, but that purple is reminiscent of, oh yeah, then, you know, I see when I'm eating a bluegill, I see a little sheen of purple that reminds me of food. So that's my color situation.